In the 1st century before Christ, the Roman Empire felt completely unstoppable. One by one, ancient kingdoms were crushed under the ruthless march of its iron boots. But sitting along the fertile banks of the Nile was one extraordinarily wealthy nation that refused to bow down, the Kingdom of Egypt. And standing alone between Rome's massive war machine and total conquest was a 21-year-old queen who would outsmart the greatest rulers of her era. Pop culture remembers Cleopatra as a glamorized seductress, but historical reality tells a vastly different story. Her ultimate weapon was her formidable mind. She wasn't actually native Egyptian. She was Greek, directly descended from Ptolemy, a top general who served under Alexander the Great. Yet out of her entire 300-year royal dynasty, she was the single ruler who bothered to actually master the Egyptian language. Raised within the grand halls of Alexandria's great library, Cleopatra dedicated her youth to mastering mathematics, philosophy, geography, and astronomy. She spoke up to 9 languages fluently, allowing her to negotiate directly with foreign diplomats without ever relying on translators. But when her father passed away in 51 BC, she inherited a kingdom buried in crippling debt to Rome and teetering on economic collapse. Royal custom forced her to share power with her co-ruler and 10-year-old younger brother, Ptolemy XIII. Her brother's ruthless palace advisors despised her independence, quickly engineering a political coup to strip her of her royal power. Facing imminent execution, Cleopatra made a desperate midnight escape into exile across the unforgiving Syrian desert. Most banished monarchs would have surrendered, but Cleopatra immediately began spending her remaining gold to hire a formidable mercenary army. Meanwhile, the Roman world was rocked as Julius Caesar arrived in Alexandria, pursuing his dangerous political rival, Pompey. Cleopatra realized Caesar was her only ticket back to power, but her brother's heavily armed guards sealed every entrance to the palace. Undeterred, she executed a daring plan. Wrapped tightly inside a heavy linen bedsack, her loyal servant smuggled her right past the palace guards, unrolled directly onto the marble floor at Caesar's feet. The 21-year-old exile stood up, entirely unfazed and perfectly poised. Caesar was instantly captivated not just by her sheer nerve, but by her brilliant political strategy to secure Roman grain and Egyptian wealth. Outraged by their alliance, her brother launched a fierce war, turning the streets of Alexandria into a bloody battleground. In the terrifying crossfire of urban combat, a catastrophic fire swept through the harbor, severely damaging parts of the legendary Great Library. Caesar's veteran legions crushed the rebellion, and her young brother drowned in the Nile while attempting to flee in heavy armor. Restored to the throne, the undisputed queen, Cleopatra invited Caesar on a lavish 2-month cruise along the Nile River. This voyage was strategic brilliance. She showcased Egypt's endless gold and wheat fields, demonstrating why Rome desperately needed her alliance. Soon after, she gave birth to a healthy boy, Caesarion, meaning Little Caesar, the Roman dictator's only biological son. In 46 BC, Cleopatra made a grand entrance into Rome, arriving with unprecedented luxury that left Roman citizens entirely stunned. Caesar scandalized traditional Romans by erecting a solid golden statue of Cleopatra inside the sacred temple of Venus, fearing that Caesar intended to crown himself king and move Rome's capital to Alexandria. Panic gripped the Roman Senate. Whispers of conspiracy filled the shadows of the capital as decades of republican tradition pushed men toward violent action. On the fateful Ides of March, Caesar was brutally assassinated, leaving Cleopatra isolated and unprotected in a deeply hostile city. Recognizing the immediate danger to her son's life, she fled under the cover of darkness back to the safety of Alexandria. Back home, she effectively navigated severe drought and famine, while Rome descended into a brutal, bloody civil war. Out of the ashes of war emerged dominant Roman leaders: Caesar's adopted heir Octavian and his fierce top general, Mark Antony. In 41 BC, Antony summoned Cleopatra to Tarsus. She arrived aboard a majestic flagship featuring purple silk sails and oars of pure silver. Dressed as Aphrodite and surrounded by exotic incense, Cleopatra staged a grand spectacle that completely overwhelmed the Roman general. Antony was spellbound, forging both a passionate romance and a formidable military alliance with the wealthiest woman on earth. Together, they dominated the eastern Mediterranean, creating a powerful coalition that threatened Octavian's control over Rome. Antony relocated to Alexandria, adopting Greek customs and openly preferring Egyptian court life over his Roman obligations. Their union grew even stronger with the birth of twins, establishing a formidable dynamic royal family in the east. In a lavish ceremony, as the donations of Alexandria, Antony declared Cleopatra's children rulers of vast eastern territories. In Rome, Octavian seized upon this event, claiming Antony had lost his mind and surrendered Roman honor to a foreign queen. Octavian launched a relentless propaganda war, depicting Cleopatra as an evil enchantress, holding Antony spellbound like a helpless puppet. The Roman Senate responded by taking a historic step, declaring total war directly against Queen Cleopatra of Egypt. In September of 31 BC, the fate of the ancient world culminated off the Greek coast at the monumental naval Battle of Actium. Cleopatra took personal command of 60 Egyptian warships, standing firm alongside Antony's vast war fleet. However, Octavian's swift, agile ships completely outmaneuvered the heavy, lumbering Egyptian and Roman galleys in rough waters. Trapped and overwhelmed by superior tactics, Antony's fleet broke apart into violent, burning chaos. Realizing the battle was lost, Cleopatra made a brutal decision. She ordered her ships to punch through the enemy line and retreat. Antony abandoned his remaining men and followed her, destroying his military reputation and shattering his army's morale. Returning to Alexandria, the lovers retreated into isolation, fully aware that Octavian's final assault was only a matter of time. In August of 30 BC, Octavian's legions breached Egypt, and Antony's remaining troops defected without firing a single shot. Broken by false rumors that Cleopatra had already taken her life, a distraught Mark Antony stabbed himself with his own blade, rushed to Cleopatra's stone mausoleum. The dying Roman general drew his final breath right in her weeping arms. Captured by Roman soldiers, Cleopatra faced ultimate degradation. Octavian intended to drag her through Rome in chains as a war trophy. She met with Octavian directly, searching his eyes for mercy, but found only the cold ambition of a future emperor. Refusing to ever walk as a prisoner in a Roman triumph, she secretly orchestrated her own royal execution. According to legend, she used a venomous cobra hidden inside a basket of figs, though historians suspect a lethal toxic draft. When Roman guards broke down her doors, they found the 39-year-old queen lying peacefully dead, dressed in full imperial majesty. Her tragic death marked the definitive end of the Ptolemaic dynasty and closed the book on 3,000 years of Egyptian pharaohs. For centuries, Roman conquerors wrote her history, reducing a political genius to nothing more than a dangerous, manipulative seductress. But true history reveals the real Cleopatra, a ruler who challenged the world's greatest empire using the power of her extraordinary mind.